All right, as I said in the previous video, we had treated the previous video like a wainscoting across the face of this house. Now we're about to go up with the rest of the design of this house. The caps now, from the last video, they're just securing in every grout joint. There's 3 grout joints per a 5-foot section, so they're putting 3 screws in each cap, and that'll properly hold it down. Countersink the screw, drill the hole, and then put the screw in the hole and stuck it down, and that's that. I'm showing you here now a countersunk screw in the tongue of the ledge cap. Again, this ledge cap has a tongue because we're putting more panels on top. The next panel, the groove of the next panel, needs this tongue to properly secure it to the wall. There's no need to screw through the bottom because this tongue holds it in place. They've got a 3x5 panel here now that the upper right corner was cut out so that it would fit around this window. They've also got on the left there an interlocking left corner that goes into the interlocking panel. And then they're going to put on another panel on the right here and another interlocking corner on the right. So they've got the panel cut. The upper left corner of this panel has been cut off. It's a 3x5 except for what they cut out of the for the window and the trim there. It gets slid in. Then once they slide that in, they're going to put the what would you call it, the interlocking corner on the right there, and then that level secured. These panels, starting from the lower left 2-footer corner, interlocking corner is numbered 1 through 50. The cap's included in that. So you'll see them jump from the left part of this house to the right, the left to the right, because the panels are numbered in sequence as we go up, row after row after row. And that's pretty much why you'll see them do that. Here again, they're putting on the interlocking corner, the right one, and then they'll screw 2 screws in that, and then 2 screws in the top of the 3x5 panel there, because they only have 2 studs they can grab on this because they cut out part of the window there. But that's pretty easy to do. I mean, that's quite a bit of square footage there. Now, this is a shot of that River Rock column with the square taper column that we made on the last video. They've now got the painted square taper columns and they got the rails in, so I wanted to kind of show you that. Back to the right part of this house, the right gable as I like to call it, they're putting the corner on, and then they've marked and cut out the 3x5 panel that's going to fit around that window, minus the area. If you'll notice, there's no trim on this on the sides, so we've left the space for their trim and caulking, of course, between the window and the trim, and then the trim and our rock. So we've cut around. It's very simple, just like plywood. You just mark it out and cut it with a saw, and install it. Now there's going to be a little piece above the window in between the left panel and the right panel, and that one was specially made for this kit because they make a lot of these homes, and we've got a 50-piece panel kit and caps that just skin this thing perfectly. The only cutting they have to do is minimal. It's around the windows just to give it precision. We make it about 1.5 inches to 2 inches longer, and here they're going to show you cutting that panel that goes around the window. It's just a regular worm drive skill saw that's got a wood carbide bit in it, and you'll see him cut along this panel, and then when he gets to the end and he's going to hook right for a little cut there, he's going to pick up the grinder. You see him pause like he was going to use the skill saw, but then he says, I can't get in there because of that tooth, so he picks up the grinder. Right now all he's doing is marking, because if you started cutting, you'd be blowing so much dust ahead you'd cover your blue chalk line, which we use the blue because it washes off. So the idea is just to mark it slightly, kind of cut in just a little bit just to give that marking, and then you can go back and buzz it deep, and you don't have to worry about losing your line. So that's what he's doing now. Now the table should be locked on this. I don't know why he's got it loose. You see him locking it now. But in essence, he can mark this one like he's going to do now. But you'll see as he cuts, he's just marking now, but as he cuts, he'll pick up the grinder because he can't get in all the way on the bottom of that panel because of that tooth that's sticking out there right now. At any rate, once they're cut, there's no need to do anything besides hang it up. Remember, this is going to be right up against the trim that's going to be there, and it's going to be caulked. So there's no exposure. The trim is actually deeper than or protrudes out more than the rock does, so you'll never see that cut edge. If you were in an instance where you would see that cut edge, we do have patch kits and stain kits that will allow you to touch up a cut if you should need to. But on the other hand, we sell you panels that are specifically made to the project that you're doing. If you can give us some dimensions and tell us what you're trying to skin there, we can make your panels height, width, and length to what you need. stained to where you want the color of your choice, and you're ready to go. Again, the only thing that you should ever have to do is take a 3x5 panel and trim around a door, a window, some sort of a stoppage there that you're running into that you need to trim up to. So, all right, he's going to grab that grinder and finish that bottom edge that he couldn't get with the worm drive. And then once that's done, they'll bring the panel over there. Now this panel's going up. I think the scaffold height is like about 6.5 feet tall. And we're lifting up a 3x5 panel, and a 3x5 panel 7 times 15 should weigh in about 100 pounds, and we're lifting it up 6.5 feet. Now we've done 3 stories with this before and lifted it up scaffolding to scaffolding. It's not as weighty as would be other materials of like kind, so it's an advantage again with this system. But currently, he's just touching that up with a little grinder to make sure he's got all the excess off, so it's a nice straight corner. And then they'll hang it up on the wall there. And I'm about to show you a close-up of that worm drive saw where you can see clearly it's just a carbide tip wood blade, not a masonry blade, just a wood blade. And you can use it for many, 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 many cuts. And it'll be... it'll serve your needs. Also, I think that's in full sun, and I have them block the sun to where you're in shade, and I show you the bit again here, but that's just a carbide bit, carbide tipped saw blade. All right, we're lifting this up now. As I say, it's about 6.5 feet tall, and they're up they go. And then Shekel or Skylar will skim up the ladder there, and then they'll hang it. At this point, they would be, if the home is off the ground by 20 inches, then we got the 2 foot. So we got 8 foot of rock up right now. So they're actually almost 10 foot up off the ground currently. They're about to lift it up an additional 3 feet. It looks to me like about 3 feet is where it's going. And you'll see they won't have any trouble with that. Again, it's a lot of rock being laid, and boom, one swell swoop, you know, boom, it's done. And I really enjoy that aspect of this. Actually, I was thinking they were going to lift it above where Shek's hands are now. Actually, they're fitting it into where Skylar's moving that corner. Again, in order to get the interlocking teeth in, he's got to pull that corner out just a wee bit so Shek can be past the window, slide it in, and then seat it up against the window. That's kind of the deal they've got going there. So you're seeing him now getting that to where it's out away from the window. They're putting the teeth in. I know that the next corner up there, I personally marked out the template. I used a cardboard template to mark off. If you look at where Skylar's hands are on the left there, right above that corner that he's now installing, it's only 2 1/4 inches to that eave. And that eave goes up diagonally on a probably a 312 pitch. So I had the underside of that to deal with. And then on top of this, the roof itself there, it had to go around that. So it was cutting out basically that eave out of the corner, and that was quite fun. You don't get a second chance on that, so you want to make sure you use a cardboard template. Again, the left side's done, the second row, and secured. And we've got 2 more rows, and then or 1 more row will take us just above the window, and then the actual gable pieces that'll be on next. That corner right there needed to be cut at the pitch. It's a regular flat corner on the bottom, but it had to go up that pitch, so we had to cut that as well. And then again, there's going to be caulking around where the window, the rock meet the wood trim around the window, and where it meets the house and anywhere. You know, they're going to come by and caulk that. There's a little piece above that window, the header there, and it's a specific piece that we make, and I've made it taller for this kit, so that if they have a need for adjustment around that window, they can cut it to precisely what it is. I think in this particular case it's like 3.5 inches, and I think I made that piece about 8 inches tall. On our last house it was a different trim, so we were fortunate that we had a longer piece that we could cut, or a taller piece. So that's kind of what they're doing right now, is just marking that, and then you'll see